Hello, thank you for coming back to my channel, and if you like this video or find it useful, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to talk about the expenses of moving to Japan from the United States. Now, I also want to state that we moved here 3 years ago, so things have changed, so it's not 100% this is how much you're going to pay for everything. It is going to be kind of like an estimate for you to be able to kind of get your head in the game and hopefully start saving as soon as you find out you're moving here. Now, I must say we only had about 3 months before we moved here, so we didn't save that much because we didn't know in advance. So I will say that the Marine Corps will help you and try to give you the best way possible to succeed versus them just saying, okay, you're moving to Okinawa, Japan, sorry, kind of thing. They'll give you the best way to be able to save as much money as possible. But we spent, after it was all said and done and we moved into our apartment, it was about $12,000-ish. Now, the Marine Corps didn't reimburse us for all $12,000, but they did reimburse us for a good portion of it. So I will say that, but don't expect it to be, oh, I spent that money and then now I'm going to get reimbursed. It takes a bit of a process and some paperwork and whatnot to be able to get reimbursed for some of this, some of the expenses that you spent on moving here. But when you first get here, you will have to stay in an apartment, or not an apartment, a hotel, lodging, motel, on or off base. Depends on how full all the hotels are on base. We were fortunate enough to stay at Camp Foster at the Westpac, and I have like my receipts and everything, so if you see me looking down, I want to make sure I give you, exactly. I want to show you, but it has some personal information on there, so I won't show you. But we stayed at the Westpac, and we stayed a total of 26 days. Now, that is from getting off the flight, checking into the hotel, to after we had gotten our apartment and, moved in that day. So it was a total of 26 days for that whole process. And it could change. It could take 2 weeks for you. It could take a month and a half for you. It just honestly depends on the housing situation. And that's what really took us a bit. I know we waited 8 days after we said we wanted the apartment complex we're in now. It took us about 8 days to get the keys to be able to move in. So it is a process. But we stayed at the hotel for 26 days, and the cost was $2,340 for us to stay at the hotel for those 26 days. Now, we had to put our credit card, our own credit card, on the account. And I know starting in 2016, you are able to use the government charge card to put on the account for a hotel. You're able to use it at the airport for food. You're able to use it for a security deposit. We were not that lucky, so we weren't able to use it, but we used our own credit card. We had about $3,000 on our credit card, so we were able to use it and pay that. My suggestion is to have a credit card available for that very use and be able to charge it to that account. Now, I will say Marine Corps reimbursed us 100% for that. We paid up front, and then about 3 months later we got paid back, and they even paid for the 26 days that we lived there for food wise. Now, it isn't it's a certain amount of number for the food. I don't remember, but they paid us for that as well. So we got $3,000-ish just for staying at the hotel, and reimbursed us for the cost of the hotel and our food that we had to purchase. So that was nice. But once again, it took about 3 months. And then after that, it didn't take long for us to find out that we were going to have to live off base. You have 2 housing options, and it's the 2 housing bases that you can live at and for you specifically. So for us, it was Camp Foster and Camp Kinser is our secondary. So Camp Foster, they were like, oh, okay, Camp Foster is 98% full. Let's look at Camp Kinser. So we looked at Camp Kinser, and that one was 97% full. And they're like, okay, well, you're going to have to live off base. And that was at like the DOD housing brief on Kadena. And I think that was like within less than a week that we were here. Excuse me, we had that brief. So you'll find out relatively soon. It's not like you're gonna have to wait a while to find out. You'll find out relatively soon. And at that brief, they'll tell you everything. You're you're rated this much of like a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom. You're allotted this much for this rank and everything for on base. And then they go through, the percentage of how full the housing is. And then you'll find out that you're going off base or on base. Now, I will say, if you're living on base, count that as a blessing. Because living off base, yes, it has its perks, but the upfront cost is ridiculous. So the upfront cost for us to move into a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment in Yomitan was about $8,000. It was $7,400-ish just to move here into this place. And that is, we used Imperial Housing, and there's a lot of different housing agencies, but that was our housing agency we chose. And so once we found out, we realized, like, okay, we called all the housing agencies, and we got to see a couple different houses, and we chose this one. And we had to pay first month's, last month's security deposit, and the agency fee, rent and utilities, like up front to turn everything on, and then our internet. So it was close to almost $8,000 that we had to have. And so, on top of the $3,000 for just the hotel, the almost $3,000 for the hotel and the food for those 26 days, it started to rack up just on those two things. So keep that in mind. If you live on base and you're living on base, that's a blessing. We almost wish we did, just because we didn't have that much money saved. I mean, we were newlyweds, pretty much broke. So, but it worked out in the end, and I loved it. I love it here. I'm going to miss it because I wake up every morning and I have this gorgeous view of the ocean, and you can pick pretty much how you want your house laid out, and if you like it and if you didn't. And in the housing on base, you really don't get to say. You maybe get 1 or 2 options depending on how full everything is, and that's it. Like, you have to pick one of those two. Where if you go living off base, you can pretty much go look at like 15 different houses and find exactly which one you want. So there is that. I also have to state that unlike the States, you have to use your full BAH. Well, you don't have to, but my suggestion is to. So in the States, for example, your BAH is $1,500 every month, and you found a home for $1,000 a month. Well, you pretty much can pocket that $500 every month, and that's okay. Well, here in Okinawa, Japan, you say your BAH, for example, is again $1,500, and you find a home for $1,000. You will not pocket that $500. They will pay you exactly $1,000 for exactly how much the rent is. So you might as well get, if your BAH is $1,500, look for a home that's $1,500, because you're not going to pocket that money that you saved from the BAH. So keep that in mind as well if you go live off base. And then you have to turn on your internet and your utilities and stuff like that. The Marine Corps paid us. I actually have it right here. One of the, let's see, that's our internet. Here we go. Move-in housing allowance claim. They only gave us $775.86 for our move-in claim. And that was for the agency fee and to turn on our utilities. They did pay for the first month's rent, and we paid for our security deposit, and we paid for our last month's rent on our own. And so they didn't pay us the full $8,000 or 7,400-ish money in full back. They paid for a couple $1,000, and then that was that. But it was quite a bit upfront that you had to have. And I think we took a loan out, if I remember correctly. We just ended up paying off 3 of our loans not too long ago because my husband re-enlisted and he got a big bonus. And so we were able to pay off all of our loans to move here. So that was good. Now that we're moving, it was good. And so keep that in mind. Also, if you're gonna need a vehicle. So if you don't have a lot of money, my suggestion is to go to BC Motors, because BC Motors, you just need $500 down payment, and then you're able to pick a vehicle. And if you are to go on to Buku or to Craigslist, you have to find something that you have the cash for right then and there. So if you don't have any cash, but like maybe $500 is perfect, go to BC Motors, get a vehicle. But if you have the cash and you've saved for like a year now because you've been coming here and you have that money, you can buy vehicles for like, $2,000, $3,000 off of the sell sites, and then you can get them. So it just depends on the way you want to go. I suggest going to BC Motors or a used car dealership place, because a lot of them have the warranties that if you buy from somebody that lived on this island for the last 3 or 6 years, and then they sell you this vehicle and then in the next month it craps out, you're not going to get your money back because you've used it for that month or even for that week. Like, there's no warranty if you buy it off of somebody. So that's what happened with our first vehicle here. And so we've learned our lesson, and we tell every one of our friends, go to BC Motors or go to a used car dealership place, get that warranty. It is the best thing in the world. Even if you spend just a little bit extra, it's the best. And the insurance is super inexpensive as well. I think for a year it's like $560 for me and my husband. So you have to pay that. And it's not like the States where you pay every month. You pay every 3 months or 6 months or every year. And, the more you go up, the more you save. So if you just do every 3 years, you're not going to save as much as if you do every year. You're going to save a lot more for that. So my suggestion, just do it every year. But you'll need at least $1,000 for that. But it probably won't even come to that. So those are just a couple examples. You got to have the money for the hotel, and then if you get off base, you're going to have to pay that money up front, and you're going to need several $1,000s just for that, and that was our experience. One of my friends, her and her husband saved about 10 grand, and she moved out here. Her husband was already living out here, and they said by the end of it, after the move-in and everything, they only had $700 left over from that move. And so if that tells you anything, and she moved here about a little over a year ago. So she came here sooner than, moved here sooner than I did. She came here more recent than I did, because mine was 3 years ago and hers was just a little over a year ago. So I feel like that's all the information I have going through my documents and everything. It takes quite a bit of money to the upfront costs, but you'll get quite a bit back as well. The Marine Corps just won't make you pay for everything yourself, but it will take time for you to get that money back. So keep that in mind, and I hope this helped anyone out there that's coming to Okinawa, Japan. Just save as much as possible. Try not to buy anything that you don't need, because you're going to have that weight limit and everything coming here. And so I hope you guys find it useful. And yeah, have a blessed day.